Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Soul Goals. I am Dawn, and today I have the awesome pleasure of talking to two of our really great friends, my husband and I. They were, friends of ours when they lived in Nashville. Sadly, they moved to Kentucky, but I guess it's a good thing for you. And we'll talk about that in our conversation. I know I just wanted to let everybody know how near and dear you guys are to so many people in our area, in the Middle Tennessee area, and so many people miss you. So
we appreciate that. We miss you too.
oh, you're so sweet. But I want to tell you a little bit before we let Phil get to his story. Phil and Kristi from the Nashville area during COVID, Phil sustained something that happened you said it was September of 2021, a couple different strokes that were related to the COVID illness. And anybody that knows Phil knows that he's active, athletic, on the go, go, like a go getter, right? And Kristi, I'm not leaving you out either.
It's okay. No. It's good. He is every bit of that. Absolutely.
Yes. And so for all of us as a friend unit to hear that he was suffering from something like this, it was like our jaws were dropping because you're a healthy individual going through just the COVID situation, like all of us did. And I would wager to bet many people listening had COVID at some point. So I really think that it's invaluable to allow you to tell your story so that people know just where you were, how it happened, because I know you shared a lot of that on Caring Bridge and your
Right.
site.
Mm-hmm.
Man, like let's hear it from that first person perspective, because I think it will be very, very inspiring for people to hear where you were in September of 2021 to where you are now at the end of 2023. Yeah, 2 years has gone a span, like the pendulum has gone way over here and then way over here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll
So
let
folks, welcome
I'll,
Kristi and Phil
I'll
Rector.
let Kristi start out because some of the things at the very beginning I don't remember.
Yeah.
So why don't you start?
He's
out?
the lucky one.
Yeah.
He doesn't remember. I do.
Well, that's one of the things I'm like, I don't know how your family, and you have a really tight, strong family unit. You have 3 boys,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody is super supportive, as well as your friends and your family that were here at the time with you.
Mm-hmm.
You were telling me before I hit the record button that feasibly everything was fine. He was ill, he was under the weather, went
Correct.
to bed, and woke up, and he wasn't the same person when he woke
was not the same. He had been diagnosed with COVID maybe 5 days prior.
Okay.
And if you know Phil, really know Phil, some men are the type to get sick. They'll take a runny nose. No offense to anybody out there, but that's just kind of the common thing that people like to joke about.
Yeah.
And Phil's never been one to do that. He's never been one to let sickness get him down.
Right.
And he was just trying to push through that COVID virus. He was trying to keep working. Had some deadlines he was trying to meet. And I really think he just didn't respect how it could knock him off of his feet. And I don't think, we knew it was a scary thing, but he thought, well, I can just willpower through this.
Yeah.
So it got to the point where I had to take him to the emergency room because he was just so sick. They diagnosed him with pneumonia.
Okay.
And I brought him home and said, go to bed.
Yeah.
You got to go to bed. I don't want to see you in your office. Go to bed.
Right.
And
how
No
old was
talking
he?
on the phone.
No, I said I don't want to see. And
No, like nothing. Yeah. And how old
I don't
were
want talking.
How old? How old were you?
50. Let's see, 51.
Yeah. 51. Yeah. Okay. Prime life.
Right.
Yeah.
And healthy.
Healthy.
And strong.
That's the thing.
Yes. Yeah. And so he went to bed, and I remember that night waking up to him with this really deep, loud gasping for breath 2 times. And it woke me up. And I remember setting up and checking on him, and he seemed to be sleeping soundly. And in my mind, I think that's when it happened. Who knows? but he continued to sleep. And maybe around 11 o'clock the next day, I finally went in to wake him and take him some food because I felt like, oh, he's got to eat.
Yeah.
And he just wasn't himself. And he was still running a fever. And I thought it was just the fever. He had never run a fever like that. I really attributed it to the fever. And I said, you've got to get up and move. You've got to walk. Let's walk. And he never spoke. And I thought, for once in his life, he's doing what I'm telling him to do. He's not talking.
Okay. Wait. Okay. But he didn't say anything.
He wasn't saying anything. But
Okay.
if I said, you need to go brush your teeth, he would go to the bathroom and brush his teeth. It was the most bizarre behavior. He was so submissive. I was like, something isn't right.
This is not my husband.
This is not him.
Not right. Yeah. Something was not right.
It wasn't.
And if anybody is watching this and listening to this, we laugh about it because thank God I made it.
Everything's okay.
Everything's okay now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of the laughing.
Yeah, we can laugh about it, but it was not funny.
I can imagine.
No.
Yeah. At that
Not
time,
funny.
I feel like the panic that would and I don't know that you're a panicking kind of family. You know what I'm saying? But I can see the wheels would be turning in your head.
I'm not.
Okay.
Well,
I do
okay,
well in a crisis.
Yeah.
I do well in a crisis.
Okay,
And then
so
I fall
that's
apart afterwards. But in
Yeah.
a crisis, I'm good.
Yeah.
So anyways, he was just acting so strangely. And I realized that he didn't seem to understand some of the things I was saying to him. The look on his face was confusion. Never did I think he had had a stroke.
Wow.
And in many ways, I had some time of blaming myself. Like I missed the window because you have a window where you can get them there and they can admit it, and I don't know if I had gotten him to the hospital sooner, if maybe things would have been different.
But you also weren't aware that that's really what was up. That's the last thing that's crossing your mind.
Anybody who knows Phil would not think it was a stroke.
Well, the funny story is I actually called Vanderbilt and was trying. Yeah.
No, when did you call me?
I think it may have been the day before, and I tried to get one of those or whatever they have.
He wanted the infusion.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let him do the infusion.
They wouldn't let me do it
because he didn't fit the criteria. But when I dropped him off at the ER, and he doesn't remember any of this, when I dropped him off at the ER because of COVID, I was not allowed to be in the emergency room.
Right.
And it was many, many, many hours later that they called to tell me they were taking him back for an MRI, but he couldn't answer questions, and they were getting his information. And the following day, we learned that he had had 2 strokes. And of course, they admitted him. This was during the time where you couldn't visit the hospital.
So he's by himself.
He's by himself. He cannot speak.
Not remembering any of this.
He didn't know who he was.
Oh my goodness.
He didn't know who he was. He couldn't speak. He could not swallow. He couldn't eat. His strokes were frontal lobe, which that affects your personality. That affects a lot of different things. It can affect speech.
Okay.
Strokes are so different in every person.
Yes.
They're, depending on where it is in the brain, there are no 2 strokes that are alike.
And strokes are prevalent pretty much in my family.
Okay.
My grandmother had a stroke and was paralyzed from the waist down. My mom died of a stroke.
Okay.
In December of 2021.
Yeah, shortly after.
Whoa, wait.
But now she did also have cancer as well. So it wasn't, but it was a combination of things.
Yeah, but still, that history is thick in your family then. But I would wager to bet that's the last thing that you're thinking is with the lifestyle that you're leading and the things that you're doing to take for self-care, because I know both of you are from a very healthy household.
Well, but that was related to COVID. COVID will attack your body and attack the weakest link.
Okay.
That's just some information that we've been told by different doctors that,
Yeah.
but it's not, I don't know that that's necessarily.
Well, I can throw it in there.
Yes.
But you could definitely throw that in there because that makes sense to me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, because the things that we don't really know full well that we're still learning about
Right.
COVID and what's coming out, that would make complete sense.
Right.
Based on your health history.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even with it in the works of your family, with no precursors for you personally, other than that, yeah, that makes
Well,
sense.
I had yearly scans of my blood done because my work required it, and I was completely clear of any of those things.
Mm.
Yeah. So he had the strokes, and it was a couple of days before we were able to see him. His neurologist had called and said, "Hey, we are not allowing visitors, but he is not responding."
Oh,
And all of the nurses, the doctors, they all had on the PPE.
yes,
PPE.
yeah,
The head, everything. And she said, "I think he needs to see somebody that he knows." I was not prepared when I walked in for the difference of in him, because he when he looked at me when I walked into his room, he no longer recognized me. There was no so that piece of it was really, really tough.
I think all of my family that visited me in the hospital, as well as some of my really good friends, will attest to that.
Yeah. He was, I really didn't think he would ever be back. I did not. I thought this is going to be hard. You know?
And the fact that you weren't allowed to see him for what was,
it was brutal.
3 days, knowing that this is what they're telling you had happened.
It was awful. It was absolutely terrible. But you know,
so, well, when you walked in and saw him in that capacity, you said it affected you greatly, obviously, and the people that visited you in those early days. What did you do? How did you just say, "Okay, I'm going to have to put my big girl pants on here and let's go"?
That's exactly what we had to do. I did not allow myself to cry in that room. I pretended like everything was great. It was, and then when I would go home at night, I think the darkest part for me was the nighttime, going home. And, you know, when I would come home from the hospital, I still had Tice, my high school student. He was a junior. You know, he needed me to be encouraging and positive. And that's what I did. And until he went to bed. And then I would lay in bed terrified of how our lives had changed, you know, but you never think that sort of thing is going to happen to you, but it does sometimes, you know.
What were the doctors saying early in that occurrence? Like, what were they saying when they said, "Hey, he needs to see somebody that he knows. This is what we think is happening. This is what we think, we think he's headed." Were they giving you any of that information, or were they just trying to see what
they were, you know, because every stroke is different, and it's hard to predict what can happen. He could not speak.
I couldn't swallow.
He couldn't swallow. He ended up having a feeding tube, a G tube is what some people call a peg tube. But because he couldn't swallow, he couldn't eat. Everything was through the tube in his belly. But the interesting thing is, while he couldn't talk, if I would play his favorite songs and sing, he would mouth the words along just fine. So we spent a lot.
Oh,
it's a wonder.
She started therapy on me.
So I would sing over his favorite songs, and anybody who has heard me sing knows that is not necessarily a blessing.
It was fun.
I was giving it everything I had.
It was fun.
Oh my goodness, though. How did you realize like that would work? Is that just something random you just
No, the neurologist had mentioned, she said, it's funny because if you sing the ABCs often with somebody who has aphasia, They can, because it's so deep, you know, in there that they can sing them. And so
Right.
I contacted his old fraternity brothers and I said, give me all the songs you guys listen to.
Oh, Kristi, that's brilliant.
And they made a playlist, and we sang a lot of songs like from the 80s.
Oh,
A lot of
gosh.
them.
Phil,
We
do you remember
relived the 80s.
the 80s were great.
They were
Yeah.
great.
That music
Best
was
music.
great. Yeah,
Yes.
for sure. Do you remember any of that at all?
Not really.
Yeah.
Not really.
What's your first recollection of this is happening? Where were you? Were you, because I may be going further ahead. If I am, you know,
No,
just
no,
get back.
that's a
fine.
good question. So you're asking me?
Yeah.
My first recollection would be not in the hospital,
Okay.
but in the
Rehab.
first rehab that I went to.
Mm.
Well, I remember waking up and being in a pool of, you know what?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't hold anything.
Yeah, it took a while for that to come back.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
If you think about all of the things that our body just does.
Right.
Yeah.
Now
And
that
then,
was tough. That was hard. I know,
yeah.
for him.
It was hard for me, and it was hard for the nurses as well.
Yeah. But I think, I mean, they're equipped to handle that. I think though, for you having to get to that point and go, this is, oh, I'm waking up to this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And then, you know, you also have, you know, the pride, I
Mhm.
know
Well, that's
it
what I'm
hurt
speaking
his
about.
soul. I know it hurt
Yeah.
him.
I mean,
Yeah.
I really did not know what happened. I mean, I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Why am I in the hospital?
Wow.
Yeah.
Phil. So at that point, Kristi, were you able to tell him and he was able to like fully understand it? Or was it, I mean, because it's a brain injury.
Right. I think, while I would explain it to him, I don't know that he fully grasped it. Like the
Mhm.
confusion was evident in his face.
Yeah.
So I think it was a while before, you know, he really understood. The rehab facility that he went to, gosh, they were amazing.
Okay.
I never really realized how much an occupational therapist, a speech therapist, a physical therapist.
And I had all of them.
He had all the
Yeah.
therapists. And
Yeah.
let me tell you, we had the dream team. They were
Oh.
phenomenal. And
great.
even after we were discharged and he had outpatient therapy, he had this one little therapist. She was just a spitfire. Ellie, was it
Yeah.
Ellie?
Yeah.
She would boss him because by then his strong-willed personality was starting to come back. And she
Okay.
was what, 5 foot nothing?
5
She was
foot
like
nothing.
you. She was like this little tiny powerhouse. And she wasn't
She
taking
was,
it from
darn
me.
He was like, let's go.
I was like, this is the winning combination right here.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Do you think that your willpower was something that was one of the dominant things that helped you get back to where you are now?
I think my willpower is just it's from my mom,
Okay. Yeah.
and it is what, as well as Kristi and all the people with Carrying Bridge and all that stuff. I mean, I didn't really know the Carrying Bridge was going on
Yeah.
until I got home. But everybody that sent me messages, that gave me support, that's what pulled me up.
Yeah.
I believe that. He
Truly.
was so encouraged. And I would just read him message after message
Aw.
after message at night when he was in the bed. I would just read it to him. Even though I didn't think he was fully grasping it, it meant so much. It meant so
Yeah.
much to us as a
For
family.
sure.
The support, I will
Mhm.
never again overlook, like when somebody, you know, so often people can say, oh, I'm praying for you. Let me tell you something. There's
Mm.
something about typing those words out And there's something about actually really doing it. I think it was prayer.
I think I've had numerous people tell me that I'm like the miracle.
You are.
Yes.
And
Yeah, you are.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
I mean, she really thinks that I am.
He is.
And you know what? For each one of those people, I just look at them and say, I couldn't have done it without the support. I could not, I don't think I would have had the will.
Yeah. That community rallying and just coming together to lift you up.
Right.
It's a big thing. I think
It
a
is.
lot of times that we just don't allow that, or we don't understand. I think that's a really interesting that you said, Kristi, like that you don't really comprehend it until you're in it. And then when it's happening, when the heart of people that comes out is so invaluable to where you are and to the whole process. Yeah, that just gives a whole that speaks volumes to the people around
Right.
you.
Just the ways that you show up. I never want to
Mhm.
miss an opportunity to show up for somebody who's going through anything similar to what we went through,
Yeah.
because it carried our family.
Yeah.
Those people carried our family, the meals, the prayers, the cards, all the things. It was such a reminder of how loved we are. Phil is. We needed that. We needed to, I needed to be
Right.
loved on.
Right.
And the support was wonderful. So I think that's a key element right here, is having a supportive community.
So if I can I throw out a couple of names?
Please, yeah.
Give them
Throw
support.
it out there.
I really, really want them to know how much I appreciated their love and concern. I'm talking about one of my colleagues, Jim Ford,
Okay.
my boss, Mark Walters.
Mm-hmm.
They were amazing.
Oh,
They went beyond where people should go
right.
to see that things were happening as far as my recoup.
Oh, that's great. That's great, because it could have gone a whole different direction.
Correct.
You
Yeah.
could have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Tell me, how long were you in a place where you were hospitalized and then you went to rehab initially out of the hospital? And that was an inpatient.
2 rehabs.
No.
Both of them were. Uh-oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Two
I
of them
don't
were,
remember.
I'm not arguing.
but they were inpatient rehabs that you had to go to, correct?
Yes. There was the first rehab, but that was only for a small period. I think our insurance covered some of it.
Okay.
I don't know. Again, I gotta go to the expert.
Refer to, yeah.
And then I had a second stage rehab that was what we were talking about: occupational,
Yes.
physical, and speech.
Okay.
All three.
And that was inpatient as well.
That was.
Mm-hmm.
No, that one was outpatient.
Oh.
It was outpatient.
Okay. But how often did you go? Like every day during
Every
the week?
day. I mean, at the start, it was every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I dug in. I was like, look, I'm taking disability, so I'm just going to dig in.
Yes. Yeah. You're tenacious. You said you get that drive and that willpower from your mom. So that's innate in your system. Yeah. It's that drive. If I'm here, I'm making a choice and I'm going to do something about it.
There's something that Kristi wants to say.
Uh-oh.
I can see your reaction.
Well, I think that, like, Kristi, you had to be, because he couldn't drive, right?
Right.
So you were all hands on deck. In
Right.
terms of getting him there,
Right.
back and forth. And then also making sure that he's being taken care of at the house.
Right.
Things that he's still relearning how to do.
Oh, sure. Our bedroom was upstairs when they sent him home from rehab. I was like, you guys cannot, I am not equipped. I am not prepared. I'm not ready. I've made the comment to him. I was more confident bringing our firstborn child home from the hospital than I was bringing him home because, there was so much I wasn't familiar with, the G tube in his tummy, having to do all the things. There was so much that I did not feel, that I was prepared to handle. I just knew, I thought, I'm going to screw it up.
You can't be prepared.
But you know what?
Yeah.
I made it. We did
Yeah.
it.
She did
Yeah.
great.
We did it.
Well, you dig in and you figure out what you have to do.
Yeah.
You just have to do that. So how long did that therapy go on for? Like in that every day?
Months.
Yeah. It went for a very long time. And then they would cut back you graduated from what first?
I graduated from physical therapy first.
He's very proud of that too, just so you know.
So I want to share, I remember seeing a video, and I believe you may have been at the inpatient, but it was on your carrying bridge, and it was your oldest son came and surprised you. It was when you were relearning movements and getting up and walking.
Well, I had my oldest son help me and guide me while I was doing a little walk. But my middle son was the one that was in the military.
It was the
he
middle
was a Marine.
The video where we had the surprise homecoming.
Yes. And he wasn't planning on coming home. That was a total surprise.
It was. That was a fun surprise. That was a really fun surprise because we didn't think Gavin would be home for at least another month or so. He was serving in Afghanistan, and they were able to put in for, I guess somehow they sped it up because they knew his dad was in, in such a state. So that was a fun surprise. It was a wonderful reunion.
How did your boys handle this? I mean, we talk a lot about you as a spouse, and everything that unfolded for you, Kristi, but how did your children, how did they take?
Well, I'm gonna step in here and take the lead on this because Kristi, that's where Kristi really deserves a little bit of credit that she may have received, but maybe not.
Yeah.
So Kristi really took an active approach with our children.
Okay.
And my illness or episodes. As we were talking before the recording, I normally just don't get sick.
Right.
It's really, and if I do, I just kind of weather through it. That's what my mom always taught me.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of that was this was serious. This was a guy who just went through a couple of strokes, but she didn't want our kids to really feel that sting.
Yeah.
At first. So she didn't shield them from the pain of what they're going to see.
Right.
But she was very precautious.
Okay.
With them in terms of, information, and access to me. I mean, I had to have a haircut in my first rehab, and that was only kind of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And because I was really looking gnarly.
He was woolly.
I was woolly.
He was woolly. Don't ask me. I have never shaved a man's face in my life, okay? It was not pretty.
And she didn't do a good job.
I didn't.
Oh, no. She did the best she could in the circumstances.
I
I'm
did.
sure.
She did.
But the boys were warriors. They were wonderful. Yeah. Christian stepped up, our oldest. He was a source of strength. I mean, he really stepped up and into, suddenly I'm looking at him, he's a man. He is no longer this boy. I'm looking at him in a new light.
He grew up a lot.
He did grow up a lot, but he just needed a chance to show us that he could show. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. He could do it. Yeah.
He could do it. And he stepped into that. And then Gavin, Of course, he was away in Afghanistan. I didn't want him worried about things back at home. And then Tice is just the eternal optimist. He didn't want to see his dad in rehab because he was worried. And fortunately, that worked for me. I didn't want him to see his dad like that.
Right.
And he just kept saying, Mom, God's going to take care of this. God's going to take care of this. His faith is, it's something pretty powerful for somebody his age. So they were all wonderful. We had hard times, but in many ways we pulled together in a way that makes me proud of my family.
Right. That's amazing. And you guys are a testament to building that family.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
You built those three humans.
We had something to do with it.
You had a little to do with it. Yeah. Yeah. So thinking about what some of your biggest fears along the way, obviously, if you think about someone that's incapacitated that has a stroke, it's like, is this going to come back? Are they going to be able to function as a whole person as they were before? Were you, Phil, when you were aware of what had happened, what were some of the fears that went through you when that cognizant sense kind of started to come back for you?
Fears? Well, really, I didn't have time to really embrace the fear.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
But I would say one of the strongest things with regards to what I was apprehensive about was, is Kristi managing all that she could?
Right.
And if she wasn't, she sure made me believe she's got it all in hand.
Yeah.
She had the finances in hand, and then of course some of my friends.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke of Jim and Mark before, but they really helped out as well.
Okay. What was the hardest thing for you to recover? If you had to say, and that's maybe asking you to pick your favorite child or something.
Yeah, right.
But like, what was for you, if you could pinpoint one of them that was more challenging, I should say?
That's a good question.
I would say the appetite, along with the processing the appetite.
Okay.
Was the biggest thing. I couldn't swallow at first, and I couldn't believe they had to call in a specialist to teach me how to eat again.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, as soon as I learned,
like I'm back on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you still had the feeding tube in when you were at home.
Yes.
Gosh, how was that when that was done? Were you like that had to have been a relief?
First of all, it kind of hurt a little bit, them pulling it out. But, after that was over with, it really, I can't believe that it healed up so well.
Yeah. And that you got that skill back pretty quickly?
Oh,
did it take a while?
It took a little while for you to get the skill back, but
well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That was the hardship. The hardship was eating and the processing.
Yes.
That my body had to relearn how to do.
How to digest your food.
Yes.
Yeah.
God, the things that we take a little bit too.
Well, yeah.
Speech was a little tough.
Yeah. But the things that we take for granted, like the simple tasks, I'm sitting here listening to you talk about those things. I just keep going back to this. It's the very, very simplistic things that we learn as humans as we grow that can be taken away in a snap.
Yeah. Well, I had to learn how to walk again. I mean, I got there pretty fast, but I wake up and I think, hey, I'm alive. I've got to go and do all this stuff and get well so quick.
Mm-hmm.
I get out of bed and I get yelled at.
Yelled at? What? Yeah. By who?
Not you, the nurses.
The nurses. Because you were eager to, probably pretty eager to what is happening?
Yeah.
We're eager to get better. I mean, if
Just
Oh, they were pushing him.
Yeah.
They were pushing him.
yeah.
Because he didn't every day wake up wanting to do those things. They were like, get up, let's go.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's
When
what
I
he needed.
needed to get up
Yeah.
and go to the bathroom,
Yeah.
I needed to do that.
yes,
Now
yes,
they were good, but I'm not used to having somebody come and help me
right,
to go to the bathroom.
right. Gosh, what were some of the things like? Actually, let me give you the time frame from not recalling. What was the last thing you recall before any of this happened?
I'll tell you, the last thing I recall was I was on the phone and I learned where our son was that was in the military. That's the last thing I remember, Dawn.
Wow. And
Yeah.
when was that in relationship to when the strokes occurred? Was that
Like a week.
a
Was
week
that a week
before?
before? That was.
I don't know.
That was
Wow.
I don't
it was
remember.
It was a week or so before. And our son was, of course, during the withdrawal from Afghanistan. And so that was very scary,
Yeah.
scary times. We were worried about him, praying about him. Meanwhile, there was COVID in the house.
Yes.
So
So
And
from
we learned where he was, and that was just an enormous lift off my
Yeah.
shoulders.
yes.
when he got
I-
home, you mean when he was removed?
No,
from
when
the-
I found out
that
where he
out?
was.
Okay.
because he's in serving, he couldn't tell anybody where
No,
he
that's
was.
right. That's right.
Wow.
You're correct.
So from the time that's the last thing that you remember to the time when you kind of like woke up, how much time, Kristi, transpired through that? Was that like are we talking
I
a
would say it
couple of-
was that
month?
was probably no. I would say it was probably about 3 weeks.
Okay.
I would say that span is about 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, we found out where he was kind of mid to late August.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was about 3 weeks.
I just don't even know how you do it. It's almost like it's a puzzle and they've taken a piece out and set it
Right.
over here.
Right.
And there's this open space. And it's like you're existing in this time and space. Like
Mm-hmm.
not comprehending and not knowing what's happening is. I think that's a really, really scary thing.
Oh, it's terrifying. I have a whole new appreciation for anybody who's gone through that.
Yeah.
Anybody who's gone through that.
And COVID's still out there.
Yeah.
Now
Well, maybe I should ask you that. How do you feel about all of that now? And it was definitely confirmed that it was a COVID related stroke.
Yes, it's his neurologist confirmed this is COVID related.
Mhm.
So she confirmed that pretty much right away.
Okay.
That was what triggered the whole thing.
Had you heard anybody else have this?
No.
No, not
Wow.
prior to, but since that time, I've been in a stroke caregiver group, and there have been many other wives that have mentioned that it happened right after COVID with COVID, and so I think it's just another one of those crazy things that we'll, again, like you said, we'll learn in the years to come.
Well, again, I didn't know when it happened, but since then, there have been some people that have told me my dad was affected in this way.
From COVID.
Wow.
Mhm.
So it's probably more relevant. And like you said, yeah, as things go on, we'll hear
learn
more
more. Mhm.
about how all of this has affected everybody.
Yeah.
Gosh, if there's one takeaway for you, Phil, what would that be from all of this?
Keep your wife happy.
I'm totally putting you on the spot right there. Sorry.
It was like a glitch in the matrix for a second.
I was like, let's stop and pause. Yes. But I mean, like if there's one thing that you could say, maybe it's a defining moment, maybe it's a realization, maybe it's
So I would
understanding.
say seeing all the support that came out when it happened
Mhm.
was keep your friends truly friends.
Yeah.
And I've learned this a lot since. I've got to pick up the phone and just give them a call.
Yes.
I mean, you've got unlimited access. Keep your friends and family close.
Right.
Appreciate
Stay
it.
connected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there's something to really be spoken to about that connection piece and how that heals the soul.
Absolutely.
And anyone that's seeing this podcast or this broadcast, I would say, I'm lucky
Mhm.
that I got out and I don't really have any physical limitations
Okay.
that attributed to this.
Okay.
And that's not the case very often.
Yeah.
So I would just say work hard. The rehab, it's a bitch. Nobody likes it.
Right.
But believe in it.
Yeah.
Just give your caregivers the good feeling that you believe that what they're doing is worth it.
Yes. Well, you're a walking testament to that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you really are. Is there anything that is affected that's still kind of hanging around that you can tell is still kind of like, I'm still getting Anything related to the rehab that you had gone through? Anything that you felt you had been missed?
I think as far as limitations are concerned, I think it's up here.
Okay.
And I think with my speech, I'm a little bit confused in certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
And it may take me a little bit longer to articulate what it is that I'm trying to say.
Right.
But I think that's it. In my speech, of course.
Yes.
Hopefully you can hear.
I can hear loud and clear. I was going to make that point that you're talking about articulating. And if we talk about the fact that you couldn't speak at all,
Right.
like we're having a full on conversation about what happened to you, how you felt about it, and all of the things that go along with that. And yeah, you're a walking miracle, Phil.
He
You really
is.
are. You really are. Yeah. Yeah. It's
I'll take it.
really something. Yeah, for sure. What has been the positive that has come out of this for you and your family? Would you say it's that support, or is there something else as well?
Definitely. That is a big positive.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just leave it at that. I don't think there's any other positive
Yeah.
that's worth speaking about.
Right. Right. That makes sense. I mean, you think about how your lifestyle was before, and this, you said earlier, glitch in the system. You had there was a glitch in the system.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And that was the joke for a little while. Like anytime we made a lot of frontal lobe jokes, didn't we?
Okay.
There are a lot of times.
It's like it's his free pass for anything now. He'll go frontal lobe.
It's that frontal lobe.
That's right.
You're taking advantage of it now.
So maybe
Well, I
I
will
should
say this for anybody that's listening.
Mhm.
Take it seriously, but kind of, just relax, be lighthearted, and do the best you can in your rehab.
Right. Did you understand? I wanted that frontal lobe. I want to kind of go back there just a little bit because Kristi, you said initially that that's what was affected, and that is the place of speech, like personality, things of that nature. So, can you tell me a little bit more about? I mean, what you were being told about? Oh, this is a good thing that it's this instead of this, or is this was not so good because it could have been this instead?
No. Nobody really said anything sort of like that. I think any sort of stroke,
Everybody's is different.
Yeah.
The frontal lobe, the there have been some personality changes. And it's just part of it.
Yeah.
It's just part of it. It sucks, you
Mhm.
know, just sometimes when he's trying to process feelings or emotions, maybe the way he responds to things isn't the way that he might have responded before,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot about what the frontal lobe controls.
Yeah.
But like, he never stops trying. He
That's
never, you
amazing.
know, he has
Mhm.
not stopped trying. And every case is different. They're all different. And so that's what really sucks about the strokes. It's like the doctors can't say to you, this is what you can expect.
Okay. Yeah. It's
They
unpredictable
and
based face to
everybody's
face.
different.
Yeah.
And
And
there's
that's
all these different areas of
that's
the
the
brain.
hard part about it, is
Mm.
that sometimes when you think you've got a deficiency in one area or the other, and you ask, you know, hey, did this affect this? And they tell you, we really can't tell you
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
How
And
do you
it's,
not know? Yeah.
well, you know, because it's the brain.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It really kind of throws you for a loop.
Yes. Yeah. It's almost like well, we're in the day and age of concussions and realizing
Right.
what it is that does to the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And as we're growing in that information, gosh, it's so complex. So
So
complex.
complex. Yes.
Well, you know, Don, you know, I coached football for so long,
Uh-huh.
and I'm a big football supporter.
Yes.
But that's where the frontal lobe comes in handy.
Okay.
I just say, hey, you know, I'm frontal lobe.
Let me ask you, are you back to like regular activity? Like, wait, I know you are. You are because Kristi, you posted something about him being at Orange Theory and he was doing some kind of
Yeah.
workout at Orange. Like,
Let's
he was
talk
kicking
about
on a
it.
treadmill, like
Yeah,
sprinting.
he's Mr. Leaderboard in his
What?
age group.
What? They'll
Most
remind
of
me
the
not
time.
to go
Most of the
into it.
time.
I'm not going into an Orange Theory class beside
Yeah.
Phil.
Why?
A tail.
He loves it. He's there every day.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Every day.
Gosh.
I'm
You guys
lucky.
have been delightful as always, but I really am like, thank you for sharing so
Aw.
intimately.
Well, thank you for
Process.
hosting.
Absolutely.
I think it's important.
Yeah. I'm not going to let you get away so quickly though yet. I want to,
No,
because I
no.
know that lightheartedness and I know that
Okay.
personality. So we're going to do, and maybe your neurologist would be really excited to hear that you're doing like, having to recall rapid fire questions, because we're going to do about 4 or 5 of them. And it's a combination for the 2 of you. So whoever
So I
speaks
can
up
blame
first.
it on her.
Oh no, I'm not going to let you off the hook. Not at all. So just to kind of wrap up, we're just going to stay in that vein like you talked about, trying to keep it light and being in a place of gratitude and just keeping things a little bit less deep. Yeah.
Right.
Right. All right. So you ready, guys?
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay. Number 1.
He's ready.
What is your favorite season of the year and why?
Summer.
Yeah. Why?
Why? Because that's when I can take off all my clothes and frolic about.
Well, summer is my favorite too, but not for the same reason.
At least you're not going to admit it.
I won't admit it. Yes. Nope.
Yep.
Not saying. All right. Number 2. Either of you or both of you, have you ever won a contest?
Yes.
Okay. Care to share?
What was your contest?
Well, you'll probably remember.
Okay.
It was at the Knights of Columbus in Nashville.
Okay.
I won a costume.
He won a costume contest.
Wait, my husband might remember that.
Oh, he probably will.
What was
He
the
was
costume?
so proud of that.
I was a computer virus.
Wait, like for Halloween?
Yes.
He was a computer. It was pretty creative. It was.
Okay.
Next
which one of you
question.
came up? Kristi, did you help come up with that?
No, I was like, that's ridiculous. No, you're never gonna win. And he did. But he really put a lot of effort into it. He did a great job. But
Very good.
yeah,
Have you ever won a contest,
I
Kristi?
don't think that I have.
Okay.
I really don't.
Okay. Well, there's always tomorrow.
You know what? That's right.
All right. Next question. What object do you misplace or lose the most?
Me? You want me to answer that?
She's got to answer.
Oh,
Gosh,
okay.
what do I lose the most?
What do I lose the most?
He loses his phone. Literally
Really?
all the time.
And my phone also has my wallet in it.
That's right.
So it's
Oh,
not
that's
a
your
good thing.
life.
When we leave a restaurant, and again, I think that's a little bit of the frontal lobe thing. If we leave, I have to check the table because, like 9 times out of 10, he's going to leave his phone on the table.
Okay.
So
It's probably not a bad thing to leave your phone behind.
you're exactly
all the
right.
time.
Except for his credit cards are with
Well,
his phone. But thank God for Find My iPhone. We can find it. We can look it up.
I know where it's at. That's great.
That's right.
All right. Number 4. What movie, book, or TV show has impacted your life the most?
Well, first of all, didn't let her answer that question.
Oh,
Dawn.
For her.
I'm sorry. Okay.
For losing things, I said I couldn't think of. I mean, I lose things all the time, but there's not any one thing.
Wait, he might have something.
What do I lose the most?
Her mind.
Yeah.
And you wonder why?
It's that frontal lobe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, you get it by osmosis right there. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Okay. So what movie, book, or TV show has impacted your life the most? Either of you?
Okay, so I'm going to take this one. One of my favorite books. I have a ton of favorite books.
Okay.
I think it's called Unoffended by Brant Hansen. Have you read that?
I haven't, but I'm making a mental note
Unoffended.
of
It
it.
is phenomenal. It's just a great book.
Unoffended.
Unoffended, or maybe unoffendable, but it's a great book for self-reflection.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And in the day and age that we're in.
Right.
Yeah. Let me
good.
get on my Audible right now and scroll.
I know, it's so good. It's so
I'm
good.
telling you.
I loaned it to somebody, and I'm like, I keep waiting for them to return it because I want to read it again.
Yeah.
But it's wonderful. That's a good book. What about you?
I'll just
Book or
go to
movie?
movie. I've got too many movies.
Okay.
But I think it's got to be an era or per generation or something like that. 80s, of course, you had Top Gun.
Oh,
You
yes.
had I think mostly it was the actions.
Okay.
Action movies.
What's your favorite movie?
I would say my favorite 80s movie.
We don't get to go by the.
It's okay.
We don't have a
Let's go
lot.
genre. Or we can go we can go group. Yeah.
Rambo.
There you go.
Rambo.
Rambo.
Oh, gosh.
It had a great storyline.
You're right. You're right if I think about that. And we're connected. That
Oh, wait.
time frame was great.
I've got to change it.
Wait,
First
oh, no.
Blood.
First Blood?
Let's just go with anything by Sylvester Stallone in the 80s.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah.
I think that's the key right there for you. Yeah.
Rocky.
Rocky for sure. Yes, absolutely. All right. Last one for both of you. Okay. What is the one moment in time that you would relive 1,000 times if you were given the chance to?
Oh gosh. For me, I think it would be the birth of all 3 of our boys. There's nothing more beautiful or fulfilling. That's, to me, it's just it's a miracle of God.
Yes.
And that would be mine.
I'm going to go with her.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys created these.
It's that.
Yeah.
It's that and our marriage.
Oh.
I mean, we've had some good years and some bad years.
Yeah.
Would you say?
Well, how long have you guys been married?
Let's see if he knows.
27 years.
Is that right? We're doing the math real quick.
28. It's all right. Close. It's close enough.
I think
Frontal
once you
lobe.
get past frontal lobe, there it is. Once you get past 25, it's hard to kind of keep track of those. Yeah.
Right.
And I don't think any couple married 20 plus years would say, yes, it's been amazing the whole time.
Oh,
it's been great."
absolutely not. the
Yeah.
hope that you have, like on your wedding night, and that's it's just part of the journey.
Yeah.
Is riding out all those storms together, and we've had some really, really good years.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I would say that this last year or two now have been challenging, but also really gratifying and fulfilling for you.
Oh, wonderful! Yeah,
Yeah. So in that darkness, there's some light. You know?
gratitude, so much gratitude.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And for anybody that listens to this, make your own light. Make your light.
Make your own light. I love it. Yes. Yeah, because you have choice and you can go out there and do it. You have that will, find that will, and know that you can reach out and you have community around you that is willing to rally and help you, just like you did.
Right.
Yeah. You guys are the best.
You're the best, and we love
Oh,
you, Dawn.
I love you guys. I'm so happy that we had a chance to sit down and talk.
Yeah, we are too.
Yeah, well, you're doing so great. And Kristi, I was saying before we hit the record, y'all look the same. You don't age. Are you in a time capsule?
Same goes to you.
Oh, you're very kind. You guys have a wonderful rest of your evening, a great weekend, and
you too.
We will hopefully talk again very soon.
Hopefully soon.
Yes. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dawn.